Presidential debate 2016, the third and final. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Ed Berliner. Of course, you can still join us at 1-877-NEWSMAX, 1-877-NEWSMAX. We're joined now by Bill Tucker in New York, here in the studio. Miranda Kahn and John Bachman join us again. By the way, J.D. Hayworth is coming up at 10:30. We will have all the analysts there who will take this one apart piece by piece. We talked about the economy a little bit beforehand. And Bill, I want you to hear this as well. Here's some of the bites on that, which, and you and I spoke about this earlier too, about how I really think that this is something that people want to hear about. They're worried about their families right now. Here's Donald Trump on the current economy, basically saying that it's awful.
Our country is stagnant. We've lost our jobs. We've lost our businesses. We're not making things anymore, relatively speaking. Our product is pouring in from China, pouring in from Vietnam, pouring in from all over the world. I've visited so many communities. This has been such an incredible education for me, Chris. I've gotten to know so many. I've developed so many friends over the last year, and they cry when they see what's happened. I passed factories that were thriving 20, 25 years ago, and because of the bill that her husband signed and she blessed 100%, it is just horrible what's happened to these people in these communities.
Hillary Clinton, of course, I believe we have the rebut for that. But Bill, let me go ahead, because you as the economy guy here, if you will, when Trump takes that on, is he making a successful argument? Is he pulling people in to basically say, yeah, he understands what he's talking about now, and I get it, and he's giving us some meat that we want for the future? Is he doing this?
No. What he's doing is he's tapping into an anger that's really out there. It is true. The economy's grown at about 2.1% under Obama on average until this year. And right now it looks like we're going to end up with about a 1.6% GDP. That's not good. We are not creating jobs fast enough for people coming into the job market. We are not creating jobs to rehire those people who lost their jobs during the recession. And there's an enormous amount of anger because what he said is true. I know personally because as a reporter, I was in those factory towns. I've talked to those people. What they want to know, Ed, is how are you going to fix it? People know. They don't have jobs. They have part-time jobs. They're underemployed, and they want somebody to tell them how they're going to fix it. And all he's doing right with what he just said is tapping into that and reminding people that they're angry at the people who are in power, but he's not giving them a solution. Okay,
so they're angry. Hillary Clinton gets her chance to go ahead and rebut what he said. Here's what she noted tonight in the debate.
It was a real touch-and-go situation. I was in the Senate before I became Secretary of State. I've never seen people as physically distraught as the Bush administration team was because of what was happening to the economy. I personally believe that the steps that President Obama took saved the economy. He doesn't get the credit he deserves for taking some very hard positions. But it was a terrible recession. So now we've dug ourselves out of it. We're standing, but we're not yet running.
All right, Bill, before I come to you, let me ask the two of you here, have we dug ourselves out? Did you make a convincing argument?
Well, I don't think the American people feel that way. There are certainly metrics that would point and support her argument. But again, we're talking about Hillary Clinton, who's probably the most prepared and perhaps sometimes overly prepared candidate we've had for president. And she wouldn't be throwing that line out there. She would not be giving President Obama credit for what he had done on the economy if they had not focus group and tested that specific line. President Obama's approval ratings have slowly ticked up over the last few months, mostly because many people don't like the two candidates they have. Some people feel nostalgic, for better or for worse. But you look at historically on elections, and I think we've thrown out history for the most part, but there is one guiding principle. If the president, the current president, his approval rating is above 51%, the incumbent party tends to retain power. The Republican Party is already facing an uphill battle when you look at the electoral map. The lack of unity in the Republican Party has not helped that uphill battle that they're fighting. Donald Trump, who is supposed to be the ultimate deal maker, has yet to close his own party. And got Rod Portman and Marco Rubio running in the opposite direction from Donald Trump. He had to do something tonight to not only project an image of the future, but also tell the rest of Congress, I know you got to do what you got to do. I'll take care of what I got to do, but we'll meet at the finish line and we'll work it out. He hasn't done that either. This is the guy who is the artist of the deal, and the deal is to get the party to coalesce around the nominee. Here we are on the night of the third debate. He hasn't done it yet.
Have we reached an interesting point then where in these early debates and over the last year with Donald Trump, you hear people say that he talks down to people, basically talks at a low level to people. We've heard this before, talks very simply. Are we underestimating the American people here? They're not that stupid. I mean, and here we are sitting in that third debate, and they want to hear a little meat right now. Your point is very well taken, that they want to hear a little bit more, and Donald Trump has completely underestimated the fact that even those who are his severe acolytes, who will follow him into fire, they have reached that point now where saying, I've got 3 weeks and I'm going to push this lever, I'm going to punch out this Chad. You better give me a good reason to do it. I'm not sure he's getting there.
I don't know if he has to do it that much when it comes to the economy, in all fairness. I mean, when you say you're a successful, billionaire and you're, projecting this
Who hasn't
image,
given up his tax returns yet.
right, and we're pretty sure
I
he
don't think
didn't
that's
pay
gonna hurt him, though.
taxes. No, and he's
Surprisingly, yeah.
no, I think he said, that just makes me smart. I think he's projecting this image. Look how successful I am. If you vote for me, I'm going to make you successful. I think that's the message.
When you're successful, you don't whine about the rigged system.
I think that's also fair,
comes
too.
across-
We
that
have
comes
not
across a
talked
little
about that
desperate.
because, and Bill, let me bring you in. We've only got a few minutes here before we take a break, but John alluded to it. Let's get to it. Donald Trump at the beginning of his campaign said, look at the polls, look at the polls. The polls are great. I'm winning. And now, of course, the polls have turned against him,
They're
except
crooked.
for some, like the IBT poll, the International Business Times poll, which is a very accurate poll in their way of thinking, that says that it's almost a tied race. So we're looking at those numbers right here, Bill, from this one specific poll. But when we get down to these numbers, Donald Trump whines about rigging and a fixed election. Yeah. I don't see where this is going to. His people will love it, but I don't see any of the independents or the people on the other side saying that this is going to be the thing that's going to make me come over to you.
No, I agree with you, Ed, because if he is the art of the deal, if he is the great uniter, as he wants us to see him, then he needs to stop talking about how the whole thing's rigged. And when I lose, he implies basically, when I lose, it will be because of corruption. It will not be my fault. And he's going to leave people out there with a lot of anger, and they want to direct it somewhere. If he wants to be the great uniter, he needs to cut this out. He needs to take responsibility, and he needs to talk to the people. This race right now, I do believe, is a dead heat. I don't think this is a lopsided one way or the other, except possibly maybe in the end on the electoral side. But I think you're right, Ed. I think he's made a huge mistake talking about a rigged system. That's bad language, and it's a bad way to bring together a badly divided country.
Over the last 4 years, there has been such a significant demographic change in states like Arizona and Texas and Georgia, and a lot of the polling methodology used this election cycle. Some of it is different, but a lot of it is the same that was used in 2012. I think these polls are going to be all over the place, and we're going to wake up on November 9th and go back and look at certain polls. And we've heard the comparison to the Brexit situation. The polls were dead wrong when it came to Brexit. I just don't know the fluctuation, the fickle nature of the American public these days, if these polls can accurately predict what is going to happen. That's why I always rely on the people who are placing money on bets to determine
Do you think that's
if I'm
because
guessing. But we're all just guessing at this point.
polling needs to be
Wait a minute,
upgraded?
say that one more time, because
You're much better
we are
off.
all just guessing
Yeah.
right now.
We are.
That's what everybody here is doing right now. Every pundit, every
But Bill brought up a
economist,
very
every expert,
important
we're
point.
guessing.
Donald Trump could be leading in national polls and still lose badly in the Electoral College,
Yes.
because where the polling samples are taken from it doesn't necessarily translate to the way the Electoral College works.
But here's something else, and I heard this in an earlier interview that JD did with someone in California who indicated that California could be in play for Donald Trump. Oh, come on, let's stop. That would be ludicrous for that almost to happen. I mean, that would be historic for that to happen, and there's not been anything that tells us that that's happening.
It's 2016. I think the bumper sticker
All
is
bets are off,
All
right?
bets are off.
anything can happen.
Well, are you surprised about Utah, Arizona, Texas? Any of these states shock you?
I do think the
I think saying that Texas is in play for Hillary Clinton, I don't think it's
really in play. But if you look at Utah, where you have Evan McMullin, the conservative candidate, obviously there's a loyal Mormon following in the state of Utah. And Mitt Romney has huge influence on the electorate inside Utah. But if we have an independent candidate that's going to win a state, that is a bellwether for how badly I think Donald Trump could lose. Evan McMullin surged ahead of both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump in the state of Utah today. That's not a good sign.
I got about 30 seconds left, Bill. You get the last word on this. You've not been impressed, have you?
No, I haven't been. I haven't been, and I wish, I really wish that I had been, and it upsets me a great deal. I do agree with everybody down in Florida. I think this election is in play, and it's a reason to stay up late on election night. I don't know that they're going to be able to call this as early as a lot of people think they're going to be.
Well, you get a chance to go ahead and stay up late with us tonight because we're going to be here right until midnight. That'll do it for us. For Miranda
I'll
Kahn,
be here
John
too.
Bachman, and Bill Tucker in New York, I am Ed Berliner. Bill, remember, just like we tell everybody, remember, it's Nevada. It's not Nevada.
Only in Nevada.
No, it's Nevada.
Okay.
People in Nevada, I know, scream.
I'm checking
when
with
you hear
my
the word
wife,
Nevada.
Ed. I'm sorry.
Check with you on
It's a
that
big
one.
deal,
Thanks a
apparently.
lot, buddy. It's a
In
huge deal.
Nevada.
The grammarian.
Nevada. Got
J.D.
it.
Hayworth and Steve Mosberg are up next. Stay with us right here on Newsmax.